Hey, you guys. So, I want to talk to you guys about what coaches, regardless if you are a finance coach, a business coach, a life coach, or whatever coach, a consultant, any of that, if you're starting your own business in the information space, you got to stop doing this. You've got to stop doing this. And I'm going to get into this conversation really quickly. I was just streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that stuff, and on my Instagram. And I unplugged the computer by accident. So I decided I wanted to come back live only because this is such an important conversation. And with somebody like myself who has been in the coaching industry for a very long time, and also not to be braggadocious or nothing, but I've been able to do very well for myself in the coaching industry, not just a here by today, gone by tomorrow. I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen a lot. And so I first want to shout out to our BPC family, our BPC member who actually just did a coaching call with. I'm not going to say the name, but I will say this is the reason what sparked me, only because I care. I really care about those who are getting into this coaching industry and not really like, you know what I'm saying, knowing the ins and outs. And also because of the fact that a lot of times people just not willing to share certain things that I feel like I'm going to talk about. Now, quick disclaimer, what I'm about to say is probably going to rub some people wrong. And also, um, you might decide you don't want to follow me anymore, and that's okay. If you decide that what I have said is a little bit too much for you and it's too harsh, or if you feel disrespected in any way, I do apologize in advance. But the intention is never to disrespect anyone or make them feel, like their thoughts and ideas are not valid. It's to just be honest and tell the truth. That's it. So I'm about to tell y'all something that sometimes people need to hear. Now, because of my faith, I because of the fact that I talk about God loudly and proudly, I get a lot of believers that follow me as well. And a lot of believers join Book Prophets Club. A lot of believers are plugged into our events. And I am going to say something again. I'm just putting the disclaimer that some of y'all are going to feel away when I say this. Specifically, I'm going to talk to you that I'm going to say this first, and then I'm going to get into some steps of what you really need to understand when it comes to having success as a coach, consultant, an entrepreneur, period. God is not a God of confusion or chaos. God is not going to tell you to do a thing today and then in a couple of days, weeks, or months tell you to do something different because it's not working. Also, we must be willing to have patience in our faith walk. We also know that faith without works is dead. Because I've been in this coaching space for a very long time, I have heard every single reasoning under the sun. And my clients are coaches. My clients are speakers. These are coaches and speakers who I've heard tell me every reason why they may shift, why it's not working, why. And I'm going to tell you, it's a simple formula. But we have got to stop using that God told me to shift as a reason. Because if you truly do believe, and again, I know some people are going to be mad about what I just said, but as a coach who is also a believer, if somebody that I know that is also a believer tells me that, what am I supposed to say? You know what? You're right. I can't really combat that. Does that make sense? So it's an easy way for you to say, so that then I can't respond. And as a believer, as a coach, you got the right one. Because I'm tired of that. I'm not doing that no more. I'm not just going to allow you to use that as a crutch to give up or to shift. And it's not even necessarily that it might be that you're giving up, but you're shifting the focus or shifting the audience or shifting the marketing when we haven't even given this enough time. Abraham. Hey, Tia. Amen. I shared the story of Abraham, and then as I finished the live, I was like, "What a minute! Wait a minute! You missed a valuable point. You missed a valuable point because I said the story in a way that probably didn't even align." Hey, Brian, let me tell you why. Because if everybody knows the story of Abraham, we all know that, first of all, Abraham, who was one of the forefathers of faith, meaning ultimate faith, but not just ultimate faith, but ultimate action. Some of the stuff that God would tell Abraham to do was stuff that literally some of us would never be willing to do. Let's just be real. At 70 some years old, you think you about to get up from where you live, where you're comfortable, where you're from, and move to a whole nother country? Mm-mm. Some of us ain't doing that. At 80 plus years old, you think you about to believe that God about to bless you and your wife who womb is completely gone with a child? Nope. 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 Now, this is what happens. Hold on, y'all, because I missed the message even when I was sharing it with you on Instagram. Come with it. Listen to this. Abraham was promised an heir to his inheritance. And so Abraham would keep, and this is what the forefather of faith also did. Imagine what we do. So he was promised an heir. And so he said, well, if you're not going to be able to have me an heir through birth, my heir is going to have to be from my initial servant, right? Someone that was just working within his family. I don't know if it was a servant or not. I'm probably messing it up, right? And God told him, no, that's not going to be your heir. Your heir is going to come from your blood. And so because Sarah, he knew Sarah had a womb that was no longer working, he said, well, let's get my servant, Sarah's servant, who is of childbearing age, to have a son, Hagar. So Hagar has Ishmael. Ishmael thinks that he's going to be the heir too. But then God tells him, no, he is going to be of blood from you and Sarah. And so even in this story, he has absolute faith and keeps just thinking that it's going to be an opposite way than what it is. God keeps coming in and said, no, I already told you. This is who your heir is going to be. And each time it's like, wait, imagine being 100 years old pregnant. This is beyond miracles. Beyond miracles. And so Sarah she has Ishmael. And then to make matters even worse, so now he finally has his son, his miracle child, and then has more kids, by the way. Miracle son. And God one day tells him, I need you to go and bring Isaac up to the mountaintop. He has Isaac, I apologize. Bring Isaac up to the mountaintop, and I want you to sacrifice Isaac. Without hesitation, Abraham says, no problem. In fact, wakes up early the next morning, takes him up to the top, doesn't tell Sarah because, can't tell the mom that I'm about to go sacrifice our son because God told me that he would make him an heir. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but he's going to do it. Imagine the kind of faith that you must have. And so my initial messaging was that sometimes God can give us confusing messages where we think it means to shift. But as soon as he was about to do the act, God calls out to him, Abraham. And he tells him to go and slay. It was like a sheep. I'm messing up the story. Y'all know what I'm saying. Sheep, some calf, something over in yonder, where he was able to actually then sacrifice that. And Isaac then became, of course, the heir, right? what does this story tell us though? And so at first I was like, the story can sometimes tell us that sometimes God can be confusing, but he never he doesn't change in what it is that we're called to do. He's not going to shift it up. But then as I realized as I was talking about the story, this is also a story about having faith and staying committed to the journey. And so a lot of times when people get into this coaching industry, y'all, I'm telling you, I see it happen left and right. They tell me, Taria, God told me that I'm supposed to do this. I'm going to do it. And then 90 days, 6 months from now, I'm going to shift. God told me to shift. And we use that. And what am I supposed to say? But guys, before we shift, because if we truly are believers, we must know that if initially this is the way that I'm supposed to go, it shouldn't shift. And by the way, however you're marketing, listen, if you are getting leads as a coach, consultant, entrepreneur, that means that people are subscribing, they're wanting to know information. Guys, they're interested. You have to know how to sell. Like seriously. Period. Point blank, end of story. So, can I give you a little guidance on this? And again, this is because as I was doing the one-on-one call today with our amazing family member, I know that they're not the only ones going through these pains. The way people are investing into coaching today is not how they were investing 4 or 5 years ago. It has changed. The amount of money that people are willing to invest today is nowhere close to what people were investing 4 or 5 years ago. It has changed. How you make your deliverables, it has changed. This industry has changed. And so it's not that people don't want the result that you're offering, but how you offer it makes a whole lot of difference. Guys, when you do, for example, a webinar, if you ever do webinars, these are great ways for you to get your information out there. It's a great way for people to hear about your products and services, but we must also know that that is not going to be the final way that somebody's going to decide to enroll. In fact, when you do a webinar, 70% of your sales from the webinar will take place after the webinar is over. So how do we get that sale? That means that you must be willing to call, pick up the phone, contact people. And my question to you is, if you really do know that what you are doing is a calling, are you willing to pick up the phone and say, hey, Jane Doe, I saw you on the webinar. Noticed you didn't get started. Hey, let's talk real quick and talk about some of your goals and how I can help you. First, tell me a little bit about yourself. Because I promise you, about 95% of most people that are in the coaching consulting industry would never do that. That right there alone, if you are willing to just incorporate calling people on your list, literally picking up the phone or utilizing our software. We give you a software that shows you guys how to, where you can literally call from the software and it records the calls and allows you to track everything. If 95% of most coaches would actually do this, their business would grow dramatically. I asked the BPC members, well, I put a post up the other day saying, how many of you guys have 100 leads? Oh, I got 100 plus. I got 100 plus. I didn't dare ask how many of you have called all 100 of those leads, like picked up and called them. I didn't dare to ask because I already know. Yeah, we got the leads, but we're not doing anything with, well, Taria, I'm sending out emails. That's one part of it. Taria, I did a webinar. That's one part of it. Where your sales are going to come from, especially today, moving forward for the next few years, is going to be you having to pick up the phone. Also, a person needs at least 7 to 10 touches. And when we say touches, I mean like hearing that your price is this price 7 to 10 times before they make a decision to sign up. So if you're doing one webinar, you're doing one email, that's only 2 touches. You got to be willing to stay in touch with people. I have been coaching speakers and coaches who are authors or future authors for 10 years next year, June. I still have people who have been following me who are not a part of Book Profits Club. Today, same business. And I want to also say this, guys, because I'm not saying this with a lack of understanding, because I too was in the space where I was like, maybe I should sell something else or coach in a different space because maybe these people just don't want what it is that I'm offering. No, I just had to tweak the way that I did business. Because today, think about it. You got everybody, and I'm not opposed to this, but everybody is coaching, everybody's consulting. We don't know who really knows what. And so the fact that somebody actually registered for somebody's webinar or registered for your workshop, or they registered to learn more information, getting your free item, they're interested in the results that you promised. But something that happened that you may want to tweak, and this only happens through consistent effort in making the offer. And it could be not just only tweaking, but adding to. Somebody comes into my email, they're going to get emails from me. They're going to get invited to a webinar. They're going to get invited into what we call an interview, a BPC interview. They're going to get invited to join us maybe every now and then for one of our info sessions. They're going to get invited to another webinar. I'm just going to keep on inviting you to stuff. And y'all, it sometimes takes 90 days before you see a harvest. So why am I sharing this? Because I see so many amazing men and women that are giving up because maybe you tried one or two webinars. Maybe you did 10 discovery calls, sales calls. Maybe you did one live event and you're saying, I need to shift. No, you don't. You need to stay focused. You don't even have enough numbers to even gauge if what you're doing actually works or not. In fact, we teach Book Profits Club members you should be doing 4 to 6 one-on-one sales calls per week. Do you know less than 20% of our members actually do that? Less than 20% actually do the one-on-one. Well, I'm doing a webinar. That's only a part of it. The most of your sales will be made on the one-on-one call. Please, if you're watching this and this is connecting, please drop a comment. Because I promise you guys, until you are willing to get on the phone with people one-on-one in this coaching age, I'm telling you guys, it is going to be very hard. Unless you are an A-list celebrity or a high-level influencer, and even those ones today, the influencers are still finding that it's becoming difficult to get people to sign up. People are informationed out. They are coached out. They are online webinared out, workshop out. They just want to find a person that I know is a real person that's going to help me to get these results. And so, again, I know some people is not going to be happy with what I just said, because what you're not going to do is come to me telling me that God told you to shift when you just told me that this is what God has called you to do. Marketing is a whole nother beast. Selling is a whole nother beast. And you got to get good at both of those. Don't give up, guys. Don't. Do the work. 4 to 6. This is how you know if it don't work. And this is the minimum. For some of us, you say, Terry, I really need to make some money right now. If you got a list of 100, I would love to know that you have called all 100 of your leads before the end of this month. Seriously, like, what? You don't need more leads. You need to call the ones you got. You need to pick up the phone. But even if we were doing 4 to 6 discovery sessions, I just brought on a brand new salesperson. Some of you guys maybe have gotten reached out to by Alexa. And Alexa is doing some incredible work, but she's called and talked to more than 30 people. 30 people, y'all. She's talked to 30 people. Out of those 30 people, 10% have joined. So that means as she's growing, she's going to get better. But she's talked to 30 people within the last 4 to 5 days. 30 people in the last 4 to 5 days. And she's so pumped up and excited, guys. When is the last time you talked to 30 people consecutively? So with that stated, guys, stop doing that. And you know what I'm saying? We got to get to work. It only works if you work this business. It only works if you do those calls. It only works if you are willing to consistently stay consistent. All right, you guys. Well, God bless you all. Again, sorry. I had to just tell the truth. Not everybody want to hear it. It's not for everyone. Don't be a here today, gone tomorrow. Don't be the person that is wavering in what you say you want to do. All right. I love you guys. This is